Hey everyone, I'm Mike Settele, the founder of Settele Tutoring, and in this lesson, I'm going to go through what it takes to get a 750 on the SAT reading sections. This is very, very hard to do. Only about 1 to 2% of people are ever going to be able to achieve a score like this. But if you can, you will have a very competitive college application at some very competitive colleges in the United States, the most competitive colleges. So this is a great way to really shine in the college application process, but it is extremely hard to do. So we'll talk about some things to memorize, some ways to strategize, and I'll give you some rough estimates of the number of questions you're allowed to get wrong to still get a 750 score. So let's start with memorization, and the first thing here is just make sure you already have memorized everything you need to know to get a 600 and to get a 700. So I talk about that in the other videos in this series, and that is not negotiable. So if you are watching this video, but you are getting at most like a 640 in your reading section, you are not looking at this realistically. You are not going to get a 750 because you are still probably missing some very fundamental things. You cannot have any issues with the grammar rules. You need to know all the transition words. You need to know the strategies for the outlines and the passages and the vocabulary. So all that stuff needs to be mastered. And at that point, you should be at a 700 or pretty close to it, maybe a 690. And then we can start to refine our process to really push it to the next level and hopefully get to that 750 mark. But like I said, that's very, very hard to do. Everything else needs to be memorized very perfectly and confidently. Then, if you are still looking for things to learn as much vocabulary as possible. It doesn't matter how obscure the word is, it could show up on an SAT. So words like irascible, perfunctory, indigent, verisimilitude, redolent. Most people do not know what those words mean, and that is okay because they're not going to appear in your real life very, very often. I know what they mean. You should go look them up, but I am not using these words, certainly not on a daily basis, but definitely even not more than like once or twice a year. So these are not words that are common, but if they are the hinge piece of a question, then it's really important. And so what I'm worried about here is, since every question is about 10 or 20 points, if we are getting a vocab question where we do not know 2 of the answer choices, then we have to guess randomly between those 2. And you still have a 50-50 shot, but if you guess wrong, that's already 10 or 20 points that you're going to lose. And so that can only happen once or twice. Plus, we're going to have hard passages that we might not be able to solve either. So by learning more vocabulary, you are hedging your bet, and you are just decreasing the chance that you will have to guess randomly on a question because you do not know the words. You do not want that to happen. At least with a hard passage, you can fight your way through. But if you're staring at a vocab question where you don't know 2 or 3 or 4 of the words, that's it. Game over. You are going to lose points, and it's not something that you can really prevent at that point during the test. So learn as many words as possible. Then we get to strategy, okay? What can we do? Well, we have to be using dumb summaries all along. We're using them to get a 600, to get to a 700, but we need to be really, really good at that for a 750. Some of those passages are extremely difficult to understand. We need to be able to pick out just the right ideas, look at those strong words, pick them out, and have a very concise dumb summary that we are using to sort through the answer choices. In many cases, especially on these science passages, I am using my scratch paper. Yes, you get scratch paper during the reading section. You should be using it to take that dumb summary, put it on the page, and then look at it in that way as you go through the answer choices, comparing your dumb summaries of the answer choices to your dumb summary of the passage. That is way too much information to hold in your head. Those complicated passages have lots of ideas. They get twisted up. The SAT is really good at trying to confuse us. So using the scratch paper gets it out of our brain and onto the page where it doesn't disappear if we go back and read something else. So you got to make sure you're using the scratch paper probably for about 5 to 10 questions in all of the reading modules. Part of this also is then being able to sort through the answer choices confidently. For the 700s, I've talked about noticing the trap answer categories for comparisons and quantifiers. There are other more unusual categories of trap answers that we see from time to time. Ideas about necessity, time, the big versus small confusion. I talk about all these things in my lesson on trap answers. Watch that, make sure you understand it, and then every time I go through a passage, you're going to see me use reasons like this to get rid of answer choices. You have to be thinking about the passages in the exact same way. So let's talk about how many you're allowed to get wrong to still get a 750. And I have to warn you, this is very variable. As we get close to the top, the scoring curve gets a little weird on the SAT, and it is not consistent from test to test. But generally speaking, here's what you you want to do. You want to get nothing wrong in the first module. Nothing wrong, okay? Yes, there will be hard questions in there. There might be vocab words that you don't know or don't know confidently, but hopefully with strategies and some just vague sense of what they mean, you can get all of those right. You will have the time to get all of those right because there are not that many hard questions. So you should be able to move fast through all the easy and medium ones and then really focus on those hard ones and make sure you are not missing any important words or ideas in the passages and you're not falling for any traps in the answer choices. Then when we get to the hard second module, you can still get a couple wrong and get a 750. It's about 3 questions per module that you're allowed to get wrong on that hard module to still get a 750 because, like I said, they're about 10 or 20 points a piece. So, like I said, we don't really want to get any vocab questions wrong because we know a lot of words and we should be able to sort through those. The more of those we have to guess on, the less likely we are going to get that 750. Most of our errors are probably going to come in the passages where we are going to just maybe run out of time. And so I want you to think about this carefully. If you have 5 minutes left and you have 5 passages to get to, what are you going to do? Should you spend a minute on each passage and just hope for the best? No, you have to understand that you can get a 750 by giving up on a couple questions, assuming everything else is right all along. So I would say take those 5 minutes, give up on 2 questions that look really, really hard, and spend 5 minutes on the 3 that are left and really try to work those and get them right. Yes, you are likely going to get the other 2 wrong from random guessing, but if you can save the points on the 3, that's probably worth more points overall than if you tried to do a bad job on the 5 of all of them. So you got to make sure you're thinking strategically like that. A couple wrong answers is not the end of the world, but it is a problem if you're getting any of the grammar, transition, or outline questions wrong. These need to be perfect. As I say here, they need to be perfect. You can't get any wrong, but you also need to be confident in all of your answers. No hesitation about the grammar rules. No wondering, no guessing. They need to be confident answers because you've memorized all the rules, all the transition words, and you know how to play the outline game, and they need to be quick. Because if you want to have enough time to get to those hard passages, you need to move through these questions fast because every second you waste here is a second taken away from the hard passages, which will take time. So this is extremely hard to do, like I said, but you can get good at it just by doing a lot of practice. I don't have as much to memorize anymore, but you do have a lot to strategize about. So I definitely recommend checking out my channel. I have literally hundreds of videos where I go through those reading passages and I use things like dumb summaries and trap answers to get even the hard ones right. Watch all those videos, okay? It will pay off. If you can learn to think like me, you can learn to score like me. So you really want to make sure you've got all of these strategies down into a just natural habit that you can do without really thinking about it. If you have questions, please put them in the comments. Remember, my name is Mike Settele, and when it comes to your scores, don't settle for less, Settele for more. Thanks for watching.